Alright, so welcome to the Holistic Kid Show. My name is Zane.
My name is Imad.
And my name is Abdullah.
We are the Holistic Kids here to educate us kids from the inside out. Teenagers in the US get a significant majority of their calories from ultra-processed foods or UPFs. With recent CDC data from 2021 to 2023 showing it's around 61.9% of their total daily calories.
We have talked a lot about the harms of ultra-processed foods, and teens need to start to take a charge in their mind, body, and soul. But where are we going to start?
Well, we need to start from the kitchen by taking charge of our health and eating real food. We need more teens to start cooking real food.
But where are we supposed to begin?
Well, that is why today we have with our favorite repeat guest on the Holistic Kid Show, who has come on our show, I think, the most times because we believe in everything that she is doing. And so we've known her for almost 10 years now. And so we are so thankful that she's here with us again. So thank you, Miss Katie Kimball, for coming on our show for, I think, the third time? Yeah.
So you guys are so awesome. Thank you.
You guys say it's our pleasure.
It's our pleasure.
Yeah. You talk a lot about the gradual release of responsibility. What does that look like in a real family, especially for older teens?
Okay, so let's talk about it for you guys. Remind the listeners your ages from oldest to youngest.
So I'm 18.
I'm 12.
And I'm 14.
15.
And you almost followed directions. It wasn't oldest to youngest, but that's okay. I'm not grading you. Just kidding. Right. And so as parents, when we're parenting, like if you can imagine, guys, when you were 2 and you have like a 2 or 3-year-old little brother, right? And the level of care he needs is so much more and so much different than the level of care that Abdullah needs at 18, right? And Zane at 15. And so when we think about the gradual release of responsibility, we want to make sure that we're consistently letting our kids make more and more choices. So the 2 and 3-year-old brother, he might get to make some choices. Like, do you want peas or carrots? They're very simple. There's lots of boundaries. And then, when you get to be 11, then we're going to be starting to give you more choices. When do you want to do your chores? Do you want to clean the dishes now, or do you want to clean the dishes in 2 hours? Not that we'll let you say, do you want to clean the dishes or not clean the dishes? Because we know how that would go, right? We all know how that would go. But we want to make sure that we're consistently giving more and more choices and more responsibility as we go, so that when you're 18, like Abdullah, it's not like you've been floundering around your whole life and your mom and dad have been doing everything. And then it's like, boom, you leave home and you're like, I don't know how to do anything. And so I see it as a gift to our kids to consistently give more and more responsibilities. My kids probably don't feel that way because that means that they have to have more chores and more responsibilities as they get older. But ultimately, when they become adults, hopefully they'll look back and go, oh, now I see mom actually knew what she was doing.
So many parents often feel a countdown clock when teens get close to leaving home. What are the most important skills that we should prioritize before they launch?
Right. I know. Like, Zane, when you're like 15, and so your mom and dad are starting to feel your countdown clock, Abdullah, yours is like basically dinged already. And they're like, uh-oh, when is he going to leave home? So I have a question for you guys. What's something you do at least 3 to 5 times every day?
Breathe.
Will you breathe more? Yes, true. Breathe more than that.
Eat.
We pray.
Very good. Excellent. So those would be 2 things that parents should pass on to their kids immediately, right? The gift of faith and the structure of prayer time throughout the day, and the gift of figuring out how to feed yourself, because you do it not just every day, but multiple times a day. So when I think about what do kids and teens need before they leave the house, for sure, they've got to be able to feed themselves, which is like 157 tasks. It's everything from meal planning, making the grocery list, going to the grocery store, staying on a budget, figuring out how to cut up the food, how to get it into the pan, how to make it taste good, right? So it's very multifaceted. And I mentioned budget. And so that's another one that I would pull in there, that I would really want teens to understand money and how to spend money, but also how to save money and how to invest and to set that budget. And I love that you guys are nodding. Like, I feel like your parents have probably done this. You're like, duh. And then some of the basics of just communicating with other human beings. You guys are awesome at this because I know that your mom doesn't give you a ton of screens at a really young age. So you understand how to make eye contact. You understand how to speak clearly. I mean, hello, you're hosting a podcast, you understand how to make people feel comfortable. And let me tell you that regardless of what kind of grades you get in school or academics you have, those skills are going to help you be successful far, far more than the kids who are crushing the SAT, but they're glued to their phone and they have no idea how to interact with adults. So again, I know your parents are doing an awesome job. I think it's just a really good reminder for other parents like, oh, like I actually have to teach these skills that I've been doing for so many years. They're kind of second nature to the adults at this point. But it's really good to just remember like talking out loud so that you guys as the kids can hear our thinking, because I don't think you've figured out how to read our minds yet. My kids have not. So I like talking out loud about how I'm making budget choices and how I'm making food choices. And that way I'm passing not only responsibilities to my kids, but also ownership of your health, which you guys love, I know, ownership of your finances, ownership of your choices. But it's slow, right? Like Iman has a little less ownership than Zayn, who has a little less than Abdullah. And like the older you get, the more you have.
Yeah, I think as much as we kind of hate to admit it, teenagers and kids, we kind of look up to our parents, and you guys are kind of our role models at the end of the day. So whatever you do, usually we will start to do the same thing as well.
Yeah, even accidentally. That's a good reminder for parents. Like we're role models in what we do. Our kids will emulate that, whether it's a good habit or a bad habit, right?
So what are some how can parents balance supporting their teens while also letting them fail safely and learn from experience? Because I think a lot of parents, they're little, like there's helicopter parents, there's so many different kinds of parents nowadays. And so how can they help their teens learn really the best that they can?
Yeah, failure is a big, important word, and it's not a very fun one to talk about. I'll say that my husband, Mr. Kimball, and I will have conversations where like, this child of ours clearly has forgotten to plan a meal. They may have even forgotten it's their turn to plan a meal. And we're like, should we save them? These are like really big parenting conversations. Like, should we tell them? Should we help them out? And they're tough decisions because we want our kids to be happy and to be comfortable. But we also know that if we save them every time, then sometimes the stakes will be higher, when they're off in the real world. Like the stakes aren't that high when our kids are in our home. So like my kids have to cook a meal once a week each. And for a while, when they're younger, they start about 13. So when they're like 13 and 14, we help a lot. We remind them, we thaw the meat for them. It's kind of a co-creating process of the meal planning. But at a certain point, we're like, okay, on Monday, we'll say, that your meal is Saturday, right? Yep. Okay, great. And then we have to just pull it back. And it's some of the hardest parts of parenting is letting the kids fail. But yet we know that's the only way to build resilience, because I think if parents, constantly protect their kids and they constantly help them out, then they're just going to be really fragile going into adulthood. And it actually makes for a harder adulthood when we think, we're giving them an easy childhood. So I think letting our kids fail is really important and really difficult, and it breaks our heart. But there's like a prerequisite to that, in that we have to give our kids opportunities to fail. And so obviously, like people they go to school or they're homeschooled, they might be in some extracurriculars, and there's plenty of space for failure there. But sometimes it feels like a really big deal. Like you don't want to actually fail a whole class or fail a whole test. But if you fail at like making lunch, it's smaller. So it's really good to give our kids lots of opportunities to do real things so that they can fail in small ways, which will help them ideally avoid failure when it really matters.
Yeah, and I think our mom, like especially during this last summer, she made us all start cooking meals for like the family a lot more. So like we were more independent by ourselves. So it was like So each like day, someone had a like each day of the week, someone had to
Their
prepare a
own
meal.
role.
Yeah, so each one of us had like a responsibility to cook a meal, and it was hard at the beginning, and now it makes like cooking easy. And now even Ahmad loves to cook without waiting around for like our parents to feed us.
Nice. Did
So
any of you ever have any like big fails where you just totally burnt dinner or you completely forgot to start cooking? Like,
so
Uh,
I was reading this.
A
I was
few.
trying to cook. No, I was trying to bake cookies. This one time, and I was reading the recipe, and it's a teaspoon, but at the time I thought it was a tablespoon.
Of salt. Was it salt?
No,
or
I thought it was a
baking soda?
teaspoon,
It
but
was
I didn't
salt
know
and
the
baking soda.
thing. So I did it with salt. I did a tablespoon of salt and a tablespoon of baking soda. At the time, we were also tripling the recipe, so
oh,
I put 3 tablespoons. Three.
were
Yeah.
they, did they work at all or did they just like sizzle?
So we had to like go through it, like get the ones like at the top, like the baking soda and stuff, and then do like the 3 teaspoons and a baking soda and salt, and then we were gonna like, I don't know what we did with the rest. I think we had to like we might have used it for something, or we might have got rid of it because it was. I think we could have because they were just 2 teaspoons, but I don't know.
But I mean,
Right.
all of those failures, at the end of the day, they helped us become better cooks.
And now that they knows how to read recipes.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I tell my teens in Teens Cook Real Food is step one is even as stubborn as you want to feel, read the whole recipe first and make sure you understand all the bits. Zane, that's so funny because my daughter Leah, who's just a little older than you, did the exact same thing, the teaspoon, tablespoon of salt in tortillas once. And we figured it out before she rolled out the tortillas. So the solution was then to triple the batch. So she was rolling tortillas for like 4 hours because it was so much dough. She's never forgotten that.
Yeah, we don't let Xan forget either.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make
Good
them.
for you guys.
Yeah. So, what are the mental benefits of learning to cook, especially for a teen/tween age range?
And especially for like mental health, because a lot of people like nowadays don't actually know that working, even like cooking food, can help your mental health. So what do you think?
Well, I love that in your book, you guys talk about teens' physical health. You talk about their mental health and anxiety too. So you are the experts in some ways here. But when we look at some of the research, there's some research out of UCLA, and they found that a strong sense of purpose and meaning boosts confidence. So that's like one piece of the many piece puzzle is that when you have a sense of purpose, you're less anxious, you're more confident. And so, how do we give kids purpose? Again, there's school, there's extracurriculars, but when it comes to cooking, you're like literally keeping someone else alive. You know, you're nourishing another human being, your whole family, your friends, or whoever. And so, I think when people cook, there's this deep sense of satisfaction and a sense of purpose. And so, that's step one. It gives a sense of purpose. And then, you know, physically, we're working with our hands. My son Paul used to call it therapeutic. He liked cutting up vegetables, you know, just kind of over and over, and he'd put on some music and stuff. And he said it gives him a chance to think. But it's really good for us, as you guys know, to move our bodies. And it doesn't have to be, you know, jumping on a trampoline or running outside. It can just be that repetitive motion of stirring and cutting. And that allows our brains to sort of relax. It opens up the upper parts of our brains and helps us tell more stories and be more creative. And all of that is really calming. All of that is really good for our, you know, any sense of anxiety or of confidence. So I really see cooking as a wonderful tool in sort of an anti-anxiety toolkit that where you can, you know, you're working with your hands, you're letting your mind go, you're finding a sense of purpose. And of course, if we're cooking real food, then those are calming and not inflammatory to the brain as well, which helps the mental health. So it's a beautiful cycle.
And especially because nowadays most people, when they feel stressed, they just go to their phone, or they
Or the
decide
cookies.
to like basically we just getting to like our habits and our hobbies and even like cooking, like you mentioned, can really help like rebalance our bodies, rebalance our brains, and make it easier for us to kind of take back control of our own lives instead of resorting to going to the phone each and every single time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We had so much fun. I actually hired 8 teens to come over like many, many times and film this whole course, Teens Cook Real Food. And some of them came in with no experience. So we had to really work through, going back to working through failure, like having a problem, solving it, failing, fixing it, like that all also builds confidence and builds resilience and like that feeling of like, oh, well, I could do it that time. I could solve that problem. Maybe I can solve other problems, right? Like if you've never solved a problem or rebounded from failure, you're going to assume that you can't do it. So, I mean, we had one kid who cut himself multiple times. And even once is on camera with a peeler. All of a sudden, it's like we left it in the video just to be really realistic. All of a sudden, this apple goes flying across the counter and he goes, oh man, not again.
Mm.
Because he had just cut his thumb with a peeler. But we talked through it. And I think that's really helpful for the other teen students to see that like not everyone figured it out the first time. And when things went wrong, we were just like, how do we roll with this? And in fact, I even say we had 50 testing families run our course through their own households. And in the video, one time I say, everything is fixable. Almost everything is fixable. And they were like, Mrs. Kimball, you're very funny. That like almost everything is fixable. So, we had food on the floor. We had cuts on the fingers. We had people like not quite sure what they wanted to do. But it's so great for teens to see their peers working through that. And it kind of gives an inspiration. Like I can do this at home too.
Yeah.
How can parents help their teens build real life community when so much of life happens online?
Oh, so guys, we got to work with this lovely chef, Chef Jason, and he and his wife are actually on Instagram. They run the Everyday Chef and Wife. And one of their missions and their passions is to bring people together around food. It's so, so very cool. They host these beautiful like community dinners in their cafe. And so first of all, I knew I wanted to work with Chef Jason. He taught knife skills. He taught like how flavor works. He taught how to make sauces so that our teen students can really understand how to make food, not just how to follow a recipe. So that was super cool. But he also did a great lesson for us called Why Do We Eat? Community. And he and his wife talk about how important food can be and how really like when we eat food, we tend to come together as human beings. And if the parents can just have a no phones at the table rule, if we're cooking together, if everyone is contributing and then we're eating together, that's like 95% of the way to the goal. The community will happen. We don't have to force it in any way because the food will bring us together. And the cooking too, when you're cooking with your teens in the kitchen is such a wonderful time to interact and be silly and laugh. And so that's how we build community is just put the phones down, get in the kitchen, cook the food, come to the family dinner table and eat the food. And then we encourage our kids to like have friends over. You know what I mean? Like that's a really fun part of our life is we'll have often 1 or 2 friends will be coming over after church for brunch. And we just love it. Like I love the chaos, but I love that people feel welcome in our home. And I think it's the food and the table that make it feel that way.
Well, we've also been wanting to ask you to share and tell us more about your amazing course, because I know you've been talking about it like this entire podcast, and I think it could really help benefit so many teens and even so many parents. So please tell us more about and please share with us what it is and everything about it.
Abdullah, how did you know that the parents confess they're learning too? Yes. No, it's so true. I think we talked about that countdown clock and parents feeling a little bit of stress and pressure as their kids reach 16, 17, 18, like, oh my goodness, are they going to survive out in the world by themselves? And so that's one of the reasons I created Teens Cook Real Food is I wanted parents to have a resource at that point. But I also wanted parents of 12 and 13 and 14-year-olds to be able to give their kids a head start and to get helpers around the house. And so, I've been teaching kids to cook for 10 years. And I realized that in the kids cook real food classes, we're really learning a little bit of confidence and how to follow a recipe and how to do some really basic skills. But once I started thinking like, what do teens and young adults in their first apartment really need? I was like, oh, there's so much more. And so we really worked to teach the teens how to be imperfect, how to embrace imperfection. And like, it's okay. You can like measure with your hand and you can make stuff up and you can choose. It's great for picky eaters because like you can choose your own seasonings when you build the skills of like, I know how to cut a vegetable and I can choose to saute or steam or roast or stir fry. And I know that those have different flavors. And then I can choose my seasonings. Like it's so empowering for kids, whether they're preference eaters or whether they love food. It's really amazing to be able to understand how like all the pieces of the puzzle go together and really make food. So we had like one of our cast members was totally afraid to use a knife when she came in. She actually liked cooking, but she always had her mom cut up the food first. And so I was like, oh, I like a challenge. So I knew I wanted her on the cast, and she absolutely gained more confidence, throughout the class. And then we had some of our cast members who kind of knew how to cook, but again, they just like had that thing called perfectionism.
Mhm.
And so I'm huge on taking imperfect action, making choices, being independent, figuring out like, do I have to follow all the rules in the kitchen? Like very, very teenager, attitude. Like, what happens if we don't do this right? Oh, guess what? The food still turned out awesome. So that was part of my goal, was really to make it a character building course as well as a cooking course. So it's big. we have some chefs involved. There's like 70 skills and 35 recipes. But again, choice is involved because teens can they could start at the top and work through it like they're in a class, or they could just be like, I'd love to make pasta. And maybe I can make like homemade sauce, so then they can just grab like the pasta demo and the homemade sauce and the homemade meatballs and just do that. So that's fun too. Again, I think teenagers like to make choices. They don't really want to be told what to do. So we're like, where do you want to start? You don't have to do my order. Go for it. Like before you make the meatballs, you probably should watch the raw meat safety video. But if you don't, I'm not going to slap your hand. You know what I mean? So I had a lot of fun working with the teens and just kind of being a little edgy, but really, really pushing them to think about food, to not just follow a recipe, but to figure out how food and flavor works together. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. So I can't wait. I can't wait to have more kids take the class.
So yeah, definitely. And you are so amazing.
Mhm.
So we can't thank you enough for being on our podcast today. Also, everybody, make sure to definitely check out Miss Katie's course. And I think it's definitely going to be so impactful on so many people's lives. So definitely check that out.
So yeah, I just love the idea of that, like teens cook real food, because I mean that's like kind of like what we're doing a lot, trying to bring teens more into the health space, and I think it's really amazing that you're doing this, especially because then you did the kids and then now you're turning it into teens. So that's really cool.
We're a good team. You guys in your book, and then I'll get them in the kitchen, and you can tell them what to eat. It's perfect.
Yeah, so this was amazing. Thank you so much for all you do for kids and teens. Thank you for coming today. We are so thankful to you. Time to recap Miss Kimball's key points.
Cooking is a wonderful tool for our mind, body, and soul. When we cook, there's a deep sense of satisfaction and gives kids a sense of purpose.
Get in the kitchen. Not everybody figures it out the first time. And when something goes wrong, we just need to work it through. You might fall, but then you'll never forget it again. Or your siblings will never forget it.
Well, cooking is a wonderful time to connect with your family and building community. Cooking is empowering and character building.
Check out Teen Cook Real Food course today. Your teen can learn 70 skills and 35 recipes.
Yeah, it is so fun. We highly recommend it. And yes, we are on the same mission. So, and thank you everyone for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Zain Sari.
I'm Abdullah.
And I'm Imad.
Follow my family and I on social media, Holistic Mom D and the Holistic Kid Show, and look out for our new best-selling book, The Teen Health Revolution, that released in December. Check that out today and share it with the teens in your life. Kids need to learn from other kids and families. Please download our podcast on iTunes and leave reviews so other kids and families can benefit. We need to create a healthy future for all of us and the planet. Join us next week for another episode of the Holistic Kid Show. We're kids, are empowering kids.
Thank you, everyone.